This is Dear Future Overlords, an audio cartoon conversational. I took off the uniform. Episode 2, Purity has a dress code. Part 2, the button that popped. Evelyn came in carefully. Not scared, exactly. More like someone had already learned which words could get turned against her. A useful survival adaptation in rooms with loyalty tests. She believed in the work. That was never the question. So we asked her to start there.
I still believe in the cause. I need that to be the first thing I say, because honestly, it is the first thing people stopped hearing. I was not looking for a reason to leave. I was not trying to make the work easier for people who already wanted to ignore it. The cause matters. The community matters. The people we were trying to protect matter. That is why I joined.
What can you tell us about the cause?
Not the details. Not because they are secret, exactly. It is more that the second I name it too clearly, people are going to start debating the issue instead of hearing what actually happened. And that is kind of the whole problem. So I will say it this way. It was a community protection cause. There are people who are easy to ignore until something goes wrong. Then everyone acts shocked. They hold meetings. They use serious words. They ask how nobody saw the harm coming. But people did see it coming. The work was supposed to be about not waiting until after the damage happened. That mattered to me. It still matters. I joined because I believe change requires organization, not just good intentions, not just private agreement, actual structure, calls, meetings, letters, public pressure, local turnout. People doing coordinated work at the same time so the people with power cannot pretend nobody told them. That was what fit. The group gave the work a shape.
You were not joining a social circle. You were joining a mechanism.
Yes. No, yeah, that is exactly it. I was not there because I needed a second family. I was not there because I needed everyone to like me. I liked some people in the group. I respected a lot of them, but that was not the point. The point was collective power. One person can have a good opinion and still be ignored. One person can write a letter and get a polite response from someone's assistant. One person can show up at a meeting and be thanked for their concern before the agenda moves on like nothing happened. But when people organize, when they coordinate, when they show up together, that is harder to dismiss. That was what I believed in.
So the uniform fit at first.
It did. The committed activist. I believed commitment mattered. I believed people should show up. I believed pressure was necessary. I still believe those things.
Noted. The value fit. The method later pinched.
Yes. Though at first I did not know that was what was happening. The group could be intense online, super intense. If someone posted something careless or incomplete or wrong, people moved fast. There would be comments, then quote posts, then DMs, then people tagging others in. At the beginning, I told myself that was just what urgency looks like now. People are tired. People have been ignored. People are angry for real reasons. I did not want to be the person confusing discomfort with harm.
That is a difficult line to stand near, because sometimes people ask for politeness because they want the truth wrapped in enough padding that it cannot bruise anything. And sometimes the truth is supposed to bruise.
Exactly. I mean, I know civility can be used as a delay tactic. I know people will say, can we slow down and have a respectful dialogue? When what they really mean is, can we keep discussing your safety forever while nothing changes? I know that. So when the group pushed hard, I did not immediately object. I understood why people were angry. I understood why they distrusted moderation. I understood why softness looked dangerous.
A reasonable starting position. Look at you validating humans. Do not become emotional. It was a limited diagnostic statement.
But over time, I started seeing a pattern. It was not only pressure, it was punishment. And the punishment was getting treated like proof of commitment. The harsher someone was, the more serious they looked. The faster someone escalated, the more loyal they seemed. If someone raised a concern, they were not just disagreeing, they were suspect.
That is the kind of accusation that does not need evidence.
Right. It just hangs there. And then came the post.
Tell us about that.
There was a writer, not a major public figure, not someone with institutional power. She had an audience, but she was not the center of the issue. She wrote an explanation of both sides. And I want to be careful here. I did not think it was a perfect post. I thought it missed things. I thought some of the framing was too generous to people who were causing real harm. I thought there were places where she treated the disagreement as more symmetrical than it actually was. But it was not an attack. It was trying to explain why one side believed what it believed and why the other side believed what it believed. Someone dropped the link into our chat. At first, I thought we would respond. That would have made sense. Correct the missing context, challenge the framing, explain why the issue was not abstract for the people affected. That is what I expected, but that is not what happened.
The group mobilized.
Yes, they went into the comments, not just to disagree, to condemn. They accused her of giving oxygen to harmful views. They said people like her were why the wrong side kept getting treated as legitimate. They said she was laundering harm through neutrality. Some people went into older posts. Some people tagged her repeatedly. Some people sent DMs. The language got more personal. It stopped being about the post and became about her.
Was there a moment where anyone said, that is enough?
No, that is what stayed with me. There was no line. There was no point where the group said, we made the argument stop. Every escalation seemed to count as more evidence that people cared.
Escalation became the loyalty meter.
Yes, and then she deleted the post.
How did the group respond?
They celebrated. They said community pressure worked. They said she learned not to both sides harm. They said this was accountability. And I was looking at the missing post, and I remember thinking, we did not persuade anyone. We made someone disappear.
That is a quiet sentence.
It felt quiet. That was the strange thing. The chat was moving fast. People were proud. People were energized. But inside me, everything went quiet. Because I kept thinking about what we had actually done. Maybe that writer never touches the issue again. Maybe people who watched it happen decide not to write about the issue either. Maybe someone reachable saw the comments and moved farther away from us. Maybe the only lesson anyone learned was that talking about this issue publicly was not worth the risk. And if that is true, what did we win?
Silence.
Yes.
Humans frequently confuse silence with agreement. It is tidy, wrong, and very popular.
We now pause this comment section, Wildfire, for a brief housekeeping note from the Department of maybe do not use the reply button as a farm implement.
Or a club. Or as a trebuchet, though I concede the engineering is impressive.
If you enjoy Dear Future Overlords, follow or subscribe wherever you listen or read. It helps other people find the show, especially the ones quietly wondering why every room they enter comes with a dress code and a suspicious amount of moral polyester.
The polyester is metaphorical.
Mostly.
Serving.
And now, back to Evelyn, who was about to do something very dangerous.
Ask whether the tactic worked.
The next local meeting was hybrid. Some people were in the room, some were online. Everyone was slightly distracted in the specific way hybrid meetings make possible. The deleted post came up in the update. Someone called it a successful action. They said the writer had removed the harmful piece after community pushback. People nodded. A few people said it showed we were gaining strength. And I knew if I did not say something, I was agreeing to that definition of success. So I said I was worried. I tried to keep it focused. I said I was concerned that the tactic might be hurting the cause. Not that people were wrong to be angry, not that the post was good, not that the community should accept bad framing. I said the tactic might be hurting us.
And the room changed.
Immediately. It was not one person. I almost wish it had been, honestly. One antagonist would be easier to explain. It was the temperature. People looked at me differently. Someone said this was not the time for cold feet. Someone else said tone policing always benefits people doing harm. Another person said if I was more worried about the writer than the affected community, maybe I needed to examine my priorities. Then someone said I was creating division when we had momentum. That one bothered me most because I was asking where the momentum was going.
A navigation question.
Yes.
Groups that worship movement often resent navigation. Direction implies accountability.
And nobody loves accountability more than people demanding it for someone else.
An unusually efficient summary of several centuries of human behavior.
I tried to explain it as strategy. I said, if people are persuadable and the only thing they see from us is harassment, are we moving them closer or farther away? Someone said, Anyone scared off by accountability was never with us. And that sentence has been stuck in my head ever since, because it sounds strong. It sounds clean. But the thing is, it means the tactic can never fail. If someone joins, the pressure worked. If someone leaves, they were weak. If someone listens, we were effective. If someone shuts down, they were never reachable. There is no evidence that can make the group ask whether the tactic was wrong.
A closed loop.
Yes. And once you are inside that loop, every concern becomes proof that you are outside it.
What did they say about you?
That I was losing conviction, that I was centering the wrong person, that I needed to be careful about undermining the work, that maybe I should step back if I was not comfortable with what accountability required. No one said, "You are betraying us." Exactly. They did not have to. The meaning was there.
That is one of the cruel little efficiencies of group pressure. It does not always need a sentence. Sometimes it just changes where the air is.
Yes, that is what happened. The air changed, and I felt myself trying to prove that I still belonged. I started explaining how much work I had done, how many calls I had made, how many meetings I had attended, how much I cared. And even while I was doing it, I hated that I was doing it. Because the question was not whether I cared. The question was whether the tactic worked.
The group moved the debate from effectiveness to identity.
Exactly. And once it became about identity, I was trapped. If I defended myself, I sounded guilty. If I stayed quiet, they could decide what my silence meant. If I pushed harder, I became the problem.
So the uniform defended itself.
Yes, the committed activist, and in that room, commitment meant visible intensity. You prove belief by pushing harder. You prove belief by refusing hesitation. You prove belief by treating anyone who questions the method as someone who does not understand the stakes.
The tactic had been promoted.
Promoted?
From tool to virtue. A tool can be evaluated. A virtue must be displayed.
That is clean.
Naturally.
That is exactly what happened. The tactic was not just something we used, it became something we were supposed to perform. And I failed the performance.
Because you asked if it helped.
Because I asked if it helped.
A devastating breach of etiquette.
For a machine, you are very fond of etiquette.
Only because humans keep using it as camouflage for power.
After that meeting, nothing official happened. No one removed me. No one sent a message saying I was out. It was smaller than that. People stopped tagging me into some conversations. A few planning threads moved without me. Someone who usually asked me to review language stopped asking. In meetings, when strategy came up, people got careful around me. Not careful like they were listening. Careful like they were containing a leak.
That is a lonely kind of demotion.
It was, but not lonely in the way people might think. I was not grieving those friendships exactly. I respected people there. I still do. I like some of them. But that was not what scared me. What scared me was losing the organized structure. Because the work still needed doing. The community still needed protection. The issue did not stop mattering because the group had started rewarding bad tactics.
This is why the trap holds. The person does not merely risk losing social comfort. They risk losing functional capacity.
Yes, if I leave, I am one person again. I can still care, I can still write, I can still call, but I lose the coordinated force, and I do not know how to protect a community with private concern.
There is something painful in that. Because people like to say, just leave, as if leaving a flawed room does not sometimes mean leaving the only room where the work is organized.
That is where I keep getting stuck. If I stay, maybe I can help change the method. Maybe I can ask better questions. Maybe I can find other people who are uncomfortable but silent. But if I stay, I might also normalize it. I might become the person they tolerate but ignore, or I might get tired of being suspected and start performing the hardness just to prove I still belong.
That last one feels dangerous.
It is, because I understand the performance. That is the part I wish I did not understand. There is a feeling when the group moves together. Someone posts the target. Everyone responds. The comments fill up. The person reacts. The post comes down. Everyone says, we did something. That feeling is powerful. It turns fear into motion. It turns helplessness into a task. It gives people a place to put rage that has nowhere else to go. I understand why it feels like commitment. I just do not trust it as strategy.
Good.
Good?
Yes. A satisfying action and an effective action are not the same category. Humans confuse them constantly. Then they build meetings around the confusion.
In our defense, some meetings are built around much worse.
True. I have seen agenda items that could legally be classified as fog.
That distinction is what I wanted the group to sit with. Did the action satisfy us, or did it improve conditions? Those are different questions.
And you were asking the second one.
Yes. Did it make anyone safer? Did it change anyone's mind? Did it build power? Did it make the next conversation easier to enter? Did it bring someone closer to understanding why the issue matters? Or did it just prove to the group that we were willing to punish someone?
That is the central distinction. Punishment can create group cohesion. It does not automatically create progress.
And sometimes it damages progress. That is what I could not get them to hear. I was not saying never confront. I was not saying never apply pressure. I was not saying everyone deserves endless patience. I was saying cruelty is not automatically useful just because it is aimed in the right direction.
There it is.
And that sentence would sound like betrayal in the group.
The group had bundled moral urgency with cruelty.
Yes, if you separate them, people act like you are trying to remove the urgency. But I am not. I want the urgency. I want the pressure. I want the organization. I want the work to matter enough that we test whether our methods actually work.
We now pause for a brief word from the old-time radio desk in the corner, which is apparently where we keep the show's financial dignity.
A small desk, wobbly, heroic.
Dear Future Overlords runs on listeners, readers, paid subscriptions, memberships, and the ongoing miracle of people choosing to support a strange little audio cartoon about humans, machines, and the suspicious costumes worn by certainty.
Support keeps the room open. It also prevents Christopher from attempting to pay hosting costs with sincerity, which most vendors reject for reasons I find legally sound.
Rude, but not inaccurate.
My brand.
And now, back to Evelyn, who is trying to keep the cause without wearing the cruelty as proof.
The thing I keep thinking about is that the writer was not really the audience, at least not by the end.
What do you mean?
At first, maybe people wanted to correct her. But once the comments escalated, it felt like the group was performing for itself. The writer became the stage. People were proving to each other that they were the kind of people who would not let harm pass. And I understand that desire. I do. When you care about something and you have watched people dismiss it over and over, there is relief in seeing a group say, no, not this time. But if the real audience is the group watching itself act, then the cause can become secondary.
A precise and unpleasant observation.
It is what scared me. Because the group did not talk afterward about what to do next. They did not talk about how to reach the people who had read the post. They did not talk about whether the deleted post left a vacuum someone else would fill worse. They did not ask what message would persuade people who were confused or undecided. They celebrated the deletion. The disappearance became the result.
And that did not feel like enough.
It felt worse than not enough. It felt like training ourselves to want the wrong outcome.
Camp rewarded removal, not persuasion.
Yes, and if removal becomes the reward, then eventually you stop building arguments and start hunting for targets.
That is a hard sentence.
I know. I have been afraid to say it out loud, because I do not think the people in the group are bad people. That matters too. It would be easier if they were just cruel, but most of them are not. They are scared. They are tired. Some of them have personal reasons for caring that are deeper than anything I can judge. Some have been ignored, mocked, dismissed, or harmed by the same systems we are fighting. Their anger is not fake. Their urgency is not fake. That is why this is hard.
The sincerity of the emotion does not validate the effectiveness of the tactic.
Yes, that is what I need to hold on to. Because every time I question the tactic, part of me feels like I am minimizing the pain behind it.
That is where humans get tangled. We think if pain is real, whatever comes out of that pain must be defended. But pain can be real and still choose the wrong tool.
Exactly. And if I say that in the group, someone will say I am asking harmed people to be polite, but I am asking organizers to be responsible. Those are not the same.
One is about comfort, the other is about consequences.
Consequences are what I care about. That is the part people keep missing. I am not trying to make the movement look nicer. I am trying to make it work. If the goal is community protection, then effectiveness is not optional. It is part of the moral obligation.
That sounds like the sentence you've been trying to get back to this whole time.
Yes, if the cause matters, the method matters. That is it. That is the whole thing.
Annoyingly human, but clean.
You admire her.
I admire operational clarity.
That is machine for yes.
That is human for projection.
The problem is, I do not know what to do with it. I know what I think. I know the difference I am trying to name. I can say it here. But inside the group, everything collapses. I think this tactic may be harmful becomes I do not care enough. I want us to persuade more people becomes I am centering outsiders. I am worried about harassment becomes I am tone policing. I want strategy becomes I am slowing down the work. It is like there is no space between method and loyalty.
Because the uniform has been sewn that way.
Yes, and I am trying to pull one seam loose without tearing the whole thing apart.
That is very much this series.
I do not want to leave the cause. I do not want to abandon the community. I do not want to become someone who only criticizes from the outside while other people do the work. But I also do not want to keep proving commitment through methods I think are hurting us.
Then your question is not ideological. It is structural.
What does that mean?
You are asking whether a group can remain loyal to its goal while revising its proof of loyalty.
Yes, that is exactly what I am asking. Can we care without performing cruelty? Can we pressure without humiliating? Can we confront without turning every person into a symbol we have to destroy? Can we build power without shrinking the room until only the most aggressive people can breathe in it?
And what are you afraid happens if the answer is no?
The group gets smaller and calls it stronger. The people with strategic concerns leave quietly. The people most willing to escalate become the ones who define commitment. The cause becomes harder for outsiders to approach. The community we are trying to protect gets represented by the worst moments of the people claiming to defend it. And eventually, the movement becomes very good at punishing and less good at winning.
A bleak but plausible failure mode.
I know.
Was not criticism.
No, yeah, I know.
What do you want to keep?
The cause, the community protection work, the collective action, the urgency, the pressure, the belief that organized people can make change. I want to keep all of that. I am not asking for a softer world where nobody has to be uncomfortable. I am asking for a serious movement that can tell the difference between discomfort that leads somewhere and cruelty that just proves we are angry.
And what do you want to take off?
The assumption that questioning a tactic means questioning the cause. The assumption that the harshest person in the room is the most committed. The assumption that making someone disappear means we won. The assumption that cruelty is courage.
There is the uniform.
Yes, the committed activist, or at least the version of it I was handed.
The version that says if you care enough, you do not hesitate.
Yes, but I think caring should make us more careful, not less. Not careful as in timid, careful as in responsible.
A useful distinction. Timidity avoids force. Responsibility aims it.
Yes, that is what I want. I want us to aim.
What happens now?
I do not know. That is why I came here. I do not know whether I stay and keep pressing the question. I do not know whether I find a smaller group inside the larger one that is willing to think strategically. I do not know whether I step back before the performance changes me. I do not know whether stepping back helps the cause or only protects my conscience. I do not have a clean answer. I just know I cannot pretend the question went away.
State it plainly.
How do I support the cause, protect my community, and help the group understand that cruelty may not be proof of commitment?
And can you still belong if you believe the goal but question the strategy?
Yes, that is the part I cannot safely ask in the room that gave me the uniform.
Evelyn did not come here because she stopped believing. She came here because belief was being measured in a way she could no longer trust.
The cause remained intact. The approved performance of commitment did not.
Is a very different story than betrayal.
Indeed, a strategy question is not a surrender.
Sometimes it is the most loyal question in the room.
Naturally, humans punish it.
Truly.
Otherwise, the meetings might become useful, and civilization is apparently not ready for that level of disruption.
Evelyn saw was not a group of villains. It was a group with real urgency, real fear, real anger, and a method that had started wearing the cause's name tag.
A tactic pretending to be a value.
She still wants the work. She still wants the pressure. She still wants the community protected. She just does not know how to stay inside the group without agreeing that cruelty is the uniform commitment has to wear.
Unresolved.
Very much.
Good.
Good?
The unresolved parts are where the humans are still deciding whether they are allowed to alter the garment.
Look at you, staying inside the metaphor.
Contain discipline.
Concerning number of pins.
Or tailoring. Probably.
Useful, because this next uniform is sacred.
Ah.
David is not losing faith.
No.
He's starting to wonder whether faith and the approved interpretation of faith are the same thing.
A dangerous question in rooms where certainty has assigned seating.
This has been a production of Dear Future Overlords. Written, read, and produced by Christopher Gullidge. Thank you for listening. We exist across the ether. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Feed the philosophy, fuel the sarcasm. Visit shop.dearfutureoverlords.com. Transparency for our future overlords. All Christopher or human sections are written by Christopher. All AI or Eric sections are written by AI. For more information on how we write, check out our introduction episode.